Today I'm talking to Matthew Garcia, who is a graduating senior and a member of the Macaulay Honors Program and also a major in political science. And I'm interested in knowing, Matthew, how you got to your senior year through these two programs, where you started off.
It's a pleasure talking to you. So I started off, I was high schooler. I went to high school, and I wanted to be close to home in the Northeast. And so I applied to CUNYs and SUNYs, and I got accepted. And I got admitted to Brooklyn College, and because I got the Macaulay Honor Scholarship, I was more than happy to come here to pursue a political science degree, and also I wanted to be a music major at the time. So I was drawn to Brooklyn College's Conservatory of Music, which is a wonderful program. So that's kind of why I chose to attend this school.
It is an interesting shift from music to politics. How did that happen?
I think it wasn't so much a shift as I was always on two tracks. So I had a double major in viola performance and in political science. So I pursued that for 2.5 years. When I went to D.C., I ran into an issue of I couldn't take my lessons from D.C. It wasn't feasible, so I had to kind of sacrifice one, but I think it was all worth it. I had always wanted to make my career in politics and receive an education in music, but not certainly pursue it professionally. So I'm very grateful to the Conservatory for allowing me to do that for a time.
So you threw in a term which you haven't defined yet, and that is your internship in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
So you'll have to explain that before we go further.
Well, there were two. When in the spring of my junior year, I was fortunate enough to be a press intern for then Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and then the following fall, I was an intern in the Biden-Harris administration in the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. So I was quite fortunate to have served in two branches of government, and in the interim, I was an intern in the presidential campaign. So I really feel like I've gotten to see politics from a whole bunch of different perspectives, and that's been really formative in my education and my understanding of our political universe.
So again, we have to go one step back. I did not know that you were affiliated in any way with the office of Chuck Schumer. And how did that come about?
Well, it came about in a few different ways. So prior to that, I'd had a lot of internships in city and local government and politics. So my first semester in college, I was in the Gotham Gazette, and then after that, I was at the Kings County Supreme Court. And after that, I was at the Queens District Attorney's Office. And then finally, I was at the Center for an Urban Future, which is a great internship program, very policy and research heavy. A lot of CUNY students tend to be selected. So I met a great mentor there who was also from CUNY. And while working there, I applied to work in DC almost on a whim. And I had some great recommenders and some great people that supported me. And fortunately, I was selected and then able to spend my first semester in DC.
So each time you took one of these internships, did you get academic credit?
I did. So thanks to Ken Esty and the support of the Political Science Department, I was able to take what's called Urban Fieldwork twice, which are both courses for to get credit for your internships. So I would write a weekly or maybe bi-weekly essay about what I had been doing, track my hours, and for that I was able to get some credit, and which was very helpful because it alleviated the burden and the opportunity cost of doing internships, because I would focus on, instead of 4 classes and an internship, really 3 classes and an internship that I would then write about.
I see. Do you have a record, a file of all these essays that you wrote during that time?
I do. Well, I submitted them to the Elections Department, and I've also kept them in on my laptop. And I did every field trip twice, once for my internship at the DA's office and once for my experience in Senator Schumer's office. And it's great to look back on them and kind of see the real-time development of what I was thinking and what happened in each week. I mean, it really helps me kind of develop a better perspective about what I experienced.
Have you considered turning them into a book?
I don't think I'm ready to write memoirs quite yet. Hopefully.
Not a memoir. These are about your
Yeah.
experience. No, they might be very useful to students who are considering internships of this sort.
Yeah. I definitely do my best to tell people about what I've done. Hopefully, I'll have some more experience before I can give any other sort of commentary beyond what it's like to be an intern, which is quite unexciting to tell the truth.
I have through my son knowledge of someone who's written a book about unpaid internships and what a scam they are. This would be the counter to that book. You could make an argument for their usefulness, if only for the further opportunities they afford.
Yeah, I mean, not all of my internships were unpaid, to be clear. The White House paid me, I think, a very livable wage. For DC, Senator Schumer's office has a need-based stipend. So I think that's great. And there's definitely a lot of conversations that were happening when I was there about how we want to pay interns, how we want to be equitable, how we want to include more people in the process. Because, of course, if you can't afford to pay your rent for 3 months, it's difficult to have an internship in a foreign city.
And you contributed to these conversations.
Well, I attended them.
Oh, yeah. I see. All right. So is it your job to listen and stay silent when you're in these jobs?
It depends. I think that in Senator Schumer's office, I mean, everyone has a different experience. I personally found it exciting to be an observer because you would be on top of the news. So you would clock in, instantly start searching what happened yesterday, how has Schumer been mentioned, what are people talking about, what's driving the day. You would get to attend senior staff meetings and hear, okay, how are these experts thinking about communication strategy? What are they considering? What are the things important? And then you would write roundups of news happening, breaking news, tracking things. There's State of the Union, like figuring out who's saying what guests are coming, doing research on the journalists you're going to be talking to. So you're kind of an observer. You're just feeding information into the machine of the press system. When I was at the White House, it was a little bit different. I would actually be the one that engage with stakeholders and call people, and I wrote remarks for administration officials. So that was kind of different perspectives, different experiences, but I think that both were valuable in their own ways.
Yeah. So these were not classified briefings, apparently.
Not yet.
How does your work in political science academically strengthen, inform this kind of internship that you've had?
Yeah. So I think that definitely it was useful to take the political science classes that I had taken. I took constitutional interpretation with Professor Law and similar courses, and I think that the value came in twofold. First, there's the just plain content knowledge of how Congress works, how the presidency works, the history of these institutions, and that just allows you to be informed in conversation, so that when you're reading the news, you have some base of knowledge to connect it to, and you're not just mindlessly copy and pasting things into a document. You have understanding what's going on. And second, there's the skills-based knowledge of how do you write efficiently, how do you present information, how do you write a good paper and research things. So, for example, when I was at the White House Office of Governmental Affairs, I would write remarks about what our office was doing. It was very similar to a political science paper, where I would pull information, I would see what's happening, how does this fit into the larger context, how can I synthesize this clearly and cleanly and present it in a way for someone who has a maximum of 2 to 5 minutes to read this will get it within that time frame.
And you learned that at Brooklyn College.
Yeah.
Excellent. What are your plans immediately after graduation?
I'd like to return to DC. I love the work. It's very fast paced. It's very engaging. It's important. I think it matters. So currently I'm applying to jobs on the Hill and off the Hill. And I'd like to start out as a staff assistant or a legislative correspondent.
So no plans for graduate study?
Eventually I'd like to go to law school. I've spoken to a lot of the wonderful professors here, Professor Law, Professor Robin, and I've decided that law is something that I would really like to pursue. And
I assume constitutional law, yes?
I think constitutional or even criminal law, because as I said, I worked in the prosecutor's office, and I thought that work was a different form of public service, but equally engaging and like really, really just crucial work. We help victims of hate crimes, victims of domestic violence, and I think that those are areas where you need people who are intelligent and empathetic and well versed in what they're doing, and if I can provide that, that would be a really wonderful form of public service.
So other students I've interviewed have made strong connections with fellow BC students through clubs they've joined, the Vanguard newspaper. What are your relations with your fellows on the campus? Because a lot of your energy has been directed off the campus.
Yeah, absolutely. I do try to make an effort to find community at Brooklyn College. I think that it was easier for me in the Conservatory of Music because I guess I have a little bit of an atypical experience, but as a music student, I was there all the time, practicing, rehearsing with people in ensembles. You get to know them, you get to play music with them, you get to talk about, did you do your music history homework? Did you do your homework? How you're doing in your training? Do you want to jam together? And that's a very natural sense of community. So I found a lot of fulfillment in that. Recently, I haven't obviously been involved in the Conservatory as much. I might go to hang out and see friends, but definitely clubs in the Macaulay Honors Program have filled that gap to some extent.
Yeah. So the Conservatory was a good place to hang out. Yeah. What we need at Brooklyn are places to hang out.
Yeah.
So that people can, in fact, form communities. What kind of music are you most interested in playing?
Personally, I'm most interested in kind of jazz music. I was a viola performance major, so I focused mostly on classical music in that study. I like both a lot. I enjoy them. I find them really engaging and enriching. And I think there's a slight preference for improvisational jazz, and I do some keyboard on the side. So the program was it wasn't a bad experience. It wasn't exactly aligned with what I wanted to do, which is partly why I was not super committed to completing my degree in music.
I see. So were you doing chamber music or orchestral?
Yeah. When you're a music student, you do both. So you have individual repertoire, you do chamber repertoire usually, and then everyone has to be enrolled in orchestra. So I was very fortunate to do that. I had a lot of solo rep and a great teacher, Marvin Rothfritz, who's a professor here at the college, and I got to work with the great conductors of the BC Orchestra, like Professor Rothman, who I think is just a wonderful musical and creative mind. And we did amazing repertoire of all sorts: Beethoven, Mozart, Debussy, and Holst. Yeah.
I see. How about Schubert?
Did we ever do Schubert in orchestra? I did Schubert for my individual repertoire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One
of my favorites.
Yeah, one of my favorites. Yeah. In fact, I named one of the chapters in my first book Death of the Maiden.
Yes, what a great,
Death and the Maiden. Sorry, Death and the Maiden. Yes, exactly. So it's been wonderful talking with you, Matthew. You have very definite goals, and not only do you have definite goals, but you know how to pursue them, which is a real advance over, say, what I was doing when I was your age and where I was at the same time. I wasn't driven I think that's just a wonderful capacity for a young person. I'm sorry if I sound condescending. I don't mean to be, but at my age, I think of anyone as even 10 years younger as a young person. It's a wonderful capacity to have. So to recap, you started at Brooklyn College as a music major, but then you found an interest in government and politics, and you double majored. Then when you went to Washington, you had to drop the music because you could not do your lessons while you were there. But you still have maintained that contact, which is great. I assume you still play.
I do still play, yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm glad you didn't drop it. I love the viola.
Me too. I think it's a great instrument. Underappreciated one, though.
Absolutely. There are lots of jokes about it, but
I've heard them all.
Underappreciated.
Yeah.
Pinkus Zuckerman convinced me that viola playing was a thing. So thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you for talking with me today.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.